Professor Colonel Wilkerson, I'm very curious. What's going on in this? Is there any way you can make sense out of this, or this is just Trump being Trump?
First, I know who wrote that for Donald. It was General Keith Kellogg. That is almost verbatim what General Keith Kellogg has been saying repeatedly about the situation. Really? So that's who wrote it for Trump. And that Hegseth let that happen is really kind of unconscionable. But Hegseth is guilty of so many sins now, I can't even enumerate them.
Yeah.
But what Trump did, in essence, was say things that, like his UN address, were absolutely insulting to other people. A real military power, that's a direct quote, a real military power would have, well, Donald, what did a real military power, because we know who you're talking about, your own country, do to Yemen, do to the Houthis, who are still firing rockets and missiles at Israel? You retreated from a ragtag rebel group in Yemen with the greatest military in the world, which is what you were insinuating. So, Donald, you are really operating off a sheet of music given to you by, and I got to say this, an 80-plus-year-old idiot named Keith Kellogg, who is so wrong about the situation in Ukraine that people like Colonel McGregor and Scott Ritter and we laugh and chortle over what he says. Now, let's just face some things here. The Russians have 300,000 troops now behind the current line, ready to go, all trained up, well-fed, well-uniformed, well-equipped, and ready to go. And they've rotated most of the troops off the front line and given them showers and baths and hot meals. And the Russians are sitting in the driver's seat 100% with regard to Ukraine.
Yep.
So the things that Trump is suggesting there, while I agree with Dennis and with your intonation too, that this is all to say, we're done, it's all coming through NATO. And by the way, it'll take 4 to 6 years for us to even manufacture the stuff that's going to come to NATO through the United States for the war. All of that is just, it's hypocrisy par excellence. I mean, the guy is just, he's unbelievable. One minute you think he's demented, the next minute you detect a bit of strategy, as you and Dennis did, and I agree with you. And then the next minute he's imbecilic again. And it just doesn't make any sense in terms of a coherent, consistent policy against which people can build a strategy and then execute it. And I would hate to be anyone underneath him, particularly in the military right now. And listening to Carney from Canada and what Carney's doing with regard to Canada's relationship with America and with NATO is quintessential pushback from a very smart man, a very good leader, apparently. And that's going to be the world. That's going to be the world. The world is looking right now, I think, at Donald Trump as either demented, an idiot, or truly crafty and dangerous. And I think they're all going to come down on that latter consideration because they're scared shitless, Jamarl, of what he might do in these moments of peak that he tweets out and makes U.S. policy. They're scared, and I don't blame them.
Jamal, and what I would add to that, not only them being scared, because, I mean, he's unpredictable. You don't know what he's going to do, and we don't know who's, in the administration that would be willing to stand up to him. And the next thing I will say, I when I listened to that speech, I feel bad for our country. I really do. It's embarrassing, and it's unfortunate that people are allowing him to get out there and say those things. I'm told his teleprompter was broke. I don't know if that's true or not, but man, that was rambling. You're talking about before the world. This guy's bragging about himself, his so-called, braggadocious. What I did, and I'm the best. It's embarrassing. I feel bad for our country right now.
Ditto. Ditto.
Yeah. I guess my thing is, what do you make of this? You guys were in the military. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a president in that embarrassing of a situation on the world stage. And it seems like he didn't care that he was on the world stage, meaning he doesn't seem to respect any either the United Nations as a whole or the other people in the other countries that are effectively in the United Nations. And B, it looks like it was targeted directly for his own base, that this speech is specific to my base. So I'm going to bash the leaders of the UK. I'm going to bash the leaders of Germany. I'm going to bash the United Nations for having a crappy building that I could have built for $500 million. I'm going to, it's classic Trump, but it's classic Trump in this kind of embarrassing, humiliating way on the world stage, in a way that we will see him on a campaign stump. It's very strange.
And Jamarl,
give me your thoughts.
He's losing his base, and he's losing it incrementally in some respects, but in almost a flood in other respects. And I reference Charlie Kirk with regard to that flood, and all the people who are abandoning the MAGA group and causing MAGA people to come with them with regard to what's happening in the Levant, especially the genocide in Gaza. So he's losing people. He's also losing people still. And I think this is going to deepen in the future over the Epstein business, because there are people who believe that he should be forthcoming and that we should see the files, so to speak, and we should know who's in them and why they're in them. He's also losing people because MAGA has not really materialized in the main concept of America first. Now, this you could say was an attempt by him to emphasize that, but it's so incoherent that it really doesn't get through to them in the way that it should if he wants to solidify them again. So his political following over those issues, others too, but those are the principal issues, I think, is severing. It's falling apart. It's not as solid as it was before. He's losing people. To have Tucker Carlson, for example, formerly a spokesperson, so advocating of the MAGA philosophy, be where he is today is a real loss. To have Marjorie Taylor Greene going after him is a real loss. I'll say to have Tom Massey, because Tom Massey's a smart congressman, going after him is a real loss. He's got some fractures showing up right now, and frankly, I don't think he knows what to do about it. And so he just kind of applies Band-Aids, really, in some cases, inappropriate Band-Aids, and certainly inappropriate for international dialogue. We are losing people, Jamarl. We are losing even our allies. We are having people in Tokyo, in Seoul, and elsewhere in the world talk about us in ways that they have not talked about us since I started being part of the military some 45 years ago. And here's another thing. The degradation that he is causing of our reputation in the world, and that's caused by everything from our unbridled support of Bibi Netanyahu, a maniacal killer, to the fluctuations of our relations with Europe, to the fact that most people know that, for example, Starmer, Merz, and Macron are gone. They're dead men walking. And what's going to replace them? No one knows. You've got Viktor Orban making the most salient, sentient comments in the whole panoply of NATO, saying that get on your horse and go to Moscow, Merz, Macron, and Starmer, and talk to the man in Moscow before you lose everything and before you start a global war that might go nuclear. Get on your horse and go there and talk and make some kind of deal. Don't take Trump with you. He's divorced himself. Go. Orban's making the most sane comments in NATO. You can't make this stuff up, Jamarl. This is a disaster.
We're seeing it right before our eyes, too. As Larry said, you can't make this up. We're seeing it. We're seeing it. And, I'll just sum this up in one way. Trump is coming in office twice saying we were the laughing stock of the world. Now, guess what? Right before him, he feels, I guess, or thought they were laughing with him and not at him. But 2 times now at the United Nations, they have laughed at him. That is embarrassing.
Well, according to him,
seen it with our own eyes. America
has its confidence back, and we are just killing it. There's an image that I have to show that I am looking for that somebody in the chat reminded me of. Al Jelani walking around New York, looking at the skyline for New York. How do we reconcile that? That is an amazing image. And I'm trying to find the specific picture of him walking around, shaking hands with Rubio, shaking hands with Petraeus on stage, where they're having this kind of dialogue between each other. Give me your take on this. Yeah, I don't want to spend a huge amount of time on it, but I'm curious.
I saw the Petraeus Jelani conversation. I couldn't believe it. I remember David from when he was a 2-star, and I was on a panel with him, along with Samantha Powers and several other people. And David was in his cups then. He was really a vigorous individual. He was then in Iraq as the Mensticky commander and such. And I saw him on the stage, and I said, "Is that the David Petraeus I used to know?"
That's him.
But you got to remember too, I think there's some truth. Really, I think there's truth to the Operation Broadwell that people are talking about. It was a Mossad operation. They put Broadwell on him. They put Broadwell with him in order to compromise him.
Oh, you mean Petraeus?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know the story. I don't know this one. You gotta give me a little bit more details on this one.
She's the woman that had an affair with him, and it broke. Okay. And it ruined his reputation at the moment anyway. He kind of resurrected it afterwards, but it really hurt him. And I'm hearing very, very good sources that Paula Broadwell, the woman who's 25 years younger than he, she was a Mossad agent. And that was a typical sting operation on David Petraeus to compromise him.
He was a honeypot.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's unfair.
That's the term of art.
That just feels unfair. It's like we're men, right? It's like, God.
But then you have to also realize that there is a good possibility that the 30 plus times Ehud Barak went to the island with Epstein, and the 30 plus times that Bill Clinton went to the island were both used against them to stymie the Oslo Accords at the last minute. Remember how abrupt that final session was? Arafat was absolutely thunderstruck. He didn't know what hit him. He was agreeing. The Arabs behind him were agreeing. They thought they were going to succeed, and all of a sudden the talks collapsed. Well, I'm hearing from good sources again that what happened was Ehud Barak, then the Israeli prime minister, participating in the talks, and Bill Clinton, of course, our president, were presented with the evidence that they had against them from the Epstein business. And so the talks collapsed.
Bill Clinton to this day blames Arafat for that. He's like, the Arabs couldn't make a deal. They just wanted to kill Jews.
And Arafat was in 2002 in Ramallah when he met with Powell. They had a little bit of a conversation, and the conversation was, I didn't know what hit me. And the Israeli public affairs campaign to blame it on the Arabs was put in motion a half an hour before the final failure. So the Israelis were contemplating the whole thing and had a massive propaganda campaign to blame Arafat and the Arabs.
Hey, let me just add something when you talk about Bill Clinton and what people seem to forget, because we blame George W. Bush for the Iraq war, which was at the time he was at the top of the food chain. But all this started, with Bill Clinton. He's the one that had the regime change policy for Iraq. So he laid the groundwork out. Bill Clinton, the regime change policy for Iraq came on the Bill Clinton, and President Bush just carried it out.
Yeah. Wow. And Clinton has given excuses in post-administration remarks that was simply for covert operations, authorization for covert operations, not for war. Bull. Read the act.
Oh, you're saying, apparently Bill Clinton has been doing a lot of lying, and Hillary Clinton, about.
Oh, they're two of the biggest liars. Next to Netanyahu, they're two of the biggest liars on the earth.
Listen, I don't want to get started. I mean, my family and friends get mad at me. I have no love for Hillary Clinton whatsoever, because she's one of the biggest liars you can ever imagine.
Wow.